G'day, it's fugitive Australian journalist Shane Dowling from the website kangaroocourtofaustralia.com. Now, I've just published an article in relation to Prime Minister Anthony Albanese and the Labor Party throwing whistleblowers Richard Boyle and David McBride under a bus. Now, Anthony Albanese and the Labor Party only came to government in May, and I tried to keep an open mind in how they would support whistleblowers or whether they wouldn't. And in August I wrote an article specifically about that. They withdrew the charges against Bernard Collaery, who was a whistleblower in relation to East Timor, or he was a lawyer for whistleblower, witness K. Now in October this year the situation changed. It became fairly obvious that Anthony Albanese and the Labor government weren't going to do anything for whistleblowers, at least in relation to Richard Boyle and David McBride. And they weren't going to do anything for whistleblowers overall because they weren't improving the legislation to protect whistleblowers. And coincidentally, that Richard Boyle and David McBride in the last few weeks have both filed applications to have their matters thrown out of court using the Public Interest Disclosure Act, which is meant to protect whistleblowers. Now, Richard Boyle is an ATO whistleblower, and from what I can tell, because there's a lot of suppression orders still on the matter and there's limited reporting on it, that his application went ahead and the judges reserved their decision on whether to dismiss the matter because Richard Boyle was a whistleblower. But David McBride, he stood no chance because the government, which is Anthony Albanese and the Labor Party, they filed a public interest disclosure immunity claim, which meant David McBride couldn't run a Public Interest Disclosure Act defence that he's a whistleblower. So that is absolutely scandalous. So there is no protection for David McBride. Now, there's two key points in the article, and I want to make now. One of them I didn't make in the article, and that is that it's going to go before a jury, both matters. So a jury is hopefully what will ultimately protect both of them, especially in Adelaide, especially in Canberra, I mean. That's where David McBride, he'll be going before a jury. We've learnt recently in another high-profile matter, which is still before the court, so I won't mention it, that in the ACT it has to be a unanimous judgment. So David McBride, from what I can tell, only needs one jury member to refuse to find him guilty and he'll get off. Unless, of course, there's some sort of national security legislation that I don't know about which can override that. Who knows? They seem to be able to pull anything out of the thin air when they want to. And I'm not too sure what will happen in Adelaide, where Richard Boyle has been prosecuted. Well, at the moment we don't know if his case will go ahead. Hopefully he will win and have his matter thrown out as a whistleblower under the Public Interest Disclosure Act. And with both matters dragging out and having regard for potential appeals to the full court and also to the High Court of Australia, both matters could be live issues come the next federal election, which is due on or before May 2025. And given that Anthony Albanese and the Labor Party only have a two-seat majority, they don't really want any issues that could have an impact on close seats. And you also have to remember there's a large bunch of independents now, community independents. Some people call them teal independents. I like to call them community independents because that's what they really are. And they have a lot larger voice than they've ever had before, independents, and so that could have an impact because I'm sure they're supporters of whistleblowers, and most of them have come out and said they are. So it could be a real issue there for Anthony Albanese. He's too smart by half, the old saying. So it could be a real issue for the Labor Party and Anthony Albanese at the next federal election. So maybe they should start treating whistleblowers with the respect they deserve and start implementing legislation to protect whistleblowers. Because at the moment, they're seen very much in the same light as the former government, the Scott Morrison-led government, where they hated whistleblowers and they hunted them down. Because at the moment, Anthony Albanese and the Labor Party are hunting them down as well. So make sure you visit my website, Kangaroo Court of Australia. Click on that article. I quote from the Human Rights Law Centre, which they've written a good article on Richard Boyle and David McBride, and I've embedded David McBride's latest video where he talks about how he had to withdraw his claim to be protected by the Public Interest Disclosure Act. And also there's a link there for David McBride's latest fundraiser. He's raising funds to help him keep going up until the next court date, which will be sometime next year, which will be the final hearing, hopefully. And please share this video on Facebook and Twitter, etc. Other than that, thank you for your time and have a good day.